my noble band of outlaws. Outlaw Samurai coming at you live with a video while drinking RC Cola. Well, as you may have noticed from my last video, I bought my first sword. The unboxing video of my crane katana. And yeah, I was kind of in sword geek mode. The moment when you buy your first sword and you just can't help but go goo goo gaga ramble moment. But I'm going to be doing a much more condensed review over the sword now that I've had it for at least 24 hours and I've gotten to swing it around a little bit. Well, without further ado, let's get started. I will begin with the Kashira. And it's very much plain Jane. There's not really much to talk about. It's a blackish gray Kashira with no real adornments at all. I mean, it's got little tiny like folded ledges, so I guess that's a little bit of an adornment. I believe both the fittings are made out of just stainless steel and then blackened. All the sword fittings except for the seppa and the habaki. The manuki are dragons, and I know. Let's see. Oh, that's better. The manuki are dragons. And they really don't show all that much detail. Never mind. Sorry, technical difficulties. And if you've noticed, yes, I do have an FFA shirt on. I was a member of the FFA. The Ito is either black cotton or black nylon. I really can't tell. I haven't had a lot of swords, so I'm going to go with black nylon because the Ito on my other sword, this one, just feels the same, and I think this one is cotton, so I'm going to go with cotton on this one. This sword I hand wrapped myself, and the Ito doesn't move. This, on the other hand, the Ito, yeah, I'm sorry you have to zoom in on my ugly hairy face. Sorry. But, yeah, the Ito, it does move a little bit. Like, and that's to kind of be expected. I mean, this thing was $50, so, yeah. The Fushira, it's the same deal. No adornments, just simple practicality. The Suba, on the other hand, has a lot of character. I mean, I'm just going to start moving this so that the light shines on the damn thing. You can see the Suba has a lot of character. It's a crane Suba, and just so I can point out, this blade is actually fairly thick. I think it's thicker than my other sword, but yet my other sword feels heavier. Probably because this one has a bohie and the other one doesn't. But yeah, the seppa are also polished brass. That's, I guess, kind of nice. I would have preferred if they were a darker color. They also have the, I don't think my camera is going to pick it up, but they also have the Musha name right here. Musha is printed on the sword, so you know it's not a counterfeit. The blade is made out of 1045 carbon steel. Note, I do not say high carbon steel, because 1045 is on the lower end of steel. When it comes to steel, 1045 is what you usually see most steel Iaito swords made out of, or lower grade Shintos, which are live swords. Like this one, it's very cheap, it's very easy to move. You can basically just grind, heat treat, polish, and then wire brush hamon on and boom. But 1045 is a very tough steel. It prefers to bend rather than break. So yeah, this sword could take a little set and I could bend a little, but it won't take a set as easily as some might expect. Now, if this was 1075 or 1095 or even 1060 or even 1050, 1050 I would say would be a mild high carbon steel, then 1060 would be a slightly higher carbon steel, and then 1075 and 1095, they would be the really high carbon steels. You also have T10, L6, 5160, 9260, spring steel, all those higher end sword steels. But yeah, I really do like it. It's a comfortable little sword, and I can easily swing this thing around one-handed. I haven't tried one-handed cuts yet, but I'm going to. I bought two swords because I practice two sword styles, so yeah. Just see me swinging around two full-length swords. Backyard samurai be praised. But yeah. As you can obviously tell, the blade has a wire brushed hamon. So, and there's actually a kote line on the Tasaki. And I bet every sword lover out there, especially the elite sword snobs, are being like, oh no, he touched the sword, he's gonna rust the blade. I touched this sword with my bare hands all day yesterday, and not a single bit of rust has accumulated on this sword. Okay? You're probably wondering why that is. Well, short version of it, if you handle steel all the time, and you keep your hands clean and dry, your hands will not rust the sword. It's only when moisture gets onto the sword blade and you leave it there that it rusts. And I don't let rust accumulate on my swords. Hell, I freak out whenever I get a speck of surface rust. I'm like, oh no! Clean with the sandpaper. But yeah. Although I do leave fingerprints on this thing, so yeah, live and learn. But it came out of the box relatively sharp. I mean, it could be sharper. I don't want to say this, but I think my $7 Walmart machete came out of the box sharper than this thing. That's probably also because of the blade profile, but still. Yeah. I really do like this sword overall. It's very comfortable. The weight is about 2 pounds something, which this sword is the same length, but it feels a hell of a lot heavier. And I think that's because it was actually longer than it is. But my friend John, when he gave this to me, did say he did a lot of grinding on it to get deep pitted rust off. So he probably had, probably shorten the blade a little bit. But I'm cool with that. Heavier sword means that when I want to do thick, hard targets, I don't necessarily have to worry about the damn thing breaking. This thing, I probably won't cut anything harder than a 2-liter bottle with this sword. This is, I would not say this is a tatami cutter. Now maybe if I got this thing razor, and I mean like shaving sharp, then it would be tatami, but whatever. I'm trying to make this video short. As I mentioned before, the Samegawa panels underneath this sword are ray skin. Well, not real ray skin, they're plastic and they're supposed to imitate ray skin. The same thing on the other sword. 2 Makugi bamboo pegs holding the sword together. And, yeah, I really do like the look of this sword. Now, that being said, I will be doing a cutting video with this sword soon. I plan to do my cutting videos once I get both my swords. So that way I can cut with both my... So that way it can be one big video where I cut with both swords and give you guys a real treat. Probably the single biggest water bottle cutting video on YouTube. It's probably going to last about 10-15 minutes, so hey, so this is next we'll talk about the saya. So set the sword to the side. The saya, I found, is actually wood inside, but not an overly thick wood. The koigata does come off and the koigata is off, but not an overly thick wood. And it's also got plastic coating to simulate lacquer work, which by the way, I probably would like. And in the Fushira, it's also got some adornments. Got some bells and frills. Yes, I do have a Spider-Man poster on my back wall. I am a comic book geek. And if you're wondering about that thing, I'll show you that at a later date. But same sign. But I'd probably, even on a higher end sword, I probably would want a plastic coating rather than lacquer work. And Outlaw Samurai, you people are probably asking, oh, Outlaw Samurai, why do you prefer plastic over lacquer? It's all, well, first of all, plastic does reduce the cost. When I buy a sword, I want to buy the sword. I don't want to buy the adornments and all the bullshit that goes into it. I don't want a fancy saya with detailed, ornate carvings and beautiful lacquer work. Hell, just make a wooden... Hell, just make the damn thing out of wood, cover it with Flex Seal, and send me the thing. I am redneck. I am utilitarian. I like simplicity. Yeah, this is turning into that long video, so... Well, at least this time my ramblings have a purpose. But yeah, I took the show knot off this thing, by the way. But yeah, and Matthew Jensen, he has this whole OCD thing. I don't mean to insult him or anything. I love his videos, but he has this whole OCD thing about the Fuchi and the about the Fushira and the Koiguchi not lining up, and I'm like, dude, it doesn't really matter. In my opinion, it doesn't really matter. If you want to give me a thicker, more robust saya on my sword, I'm not gonna bitch and moan about it. I mean, if the saya is like a half-inch thick all the way down, I could probably use that thing as a club. It's like, sword and saya style. What? But yeah, just cover the damn, like, don't give me some flowery ornate sword, and I'll probably do a rant video about that actually, now that I've come up with it. So watch out for my bitching and moaning rants. But yeah, I like simplicity, I like utilitarian. Now, that doesn't mean I don't like some fancy bobs and doodads on my sword. And it just depends on how the bobs and the doodads work. Like, if I'm paying money for the look of the sword alone, say I buy an 800, say that, I don't mean to make this a really long video, but this is just going to be a quick little 2-minute rant. Say I buy two swords. One sword, $800. The other sword, $800. And this sword over here, very plain, very simple. Basically, if this sword was $800. Very simple, very plain, not ornate at all. And you have another sword over here which is beautiful, highly detailed, ornate lacquer work. Extremely high class Hanwei, like $1,000 Hanwei class castings, and beautiful folded steel with hamon pattern. And this is just a plain sword with a wire brush hamon. Like, this is just a plain folded steel sword with no hamon. And you show these swords to me. Now this $800 sword that has all the fancy shit on it, it looks good. But when I get my hands on it, it just feels off. I mean, the blade doesn't feel good in my hand, the grip is too big, the saya is way too thin, the wood, the lacquer has issues, because you're gonna get issues with the lacquer and all this other shit with any price sword. But the biggest thing is the cost. Okay, I can tell that $800 I spent on the sword, I'm guessing around 400 of it went into just making the fitting, went into just the fittings alone. Okay? Went into just, I'm going to guess around 400 to 500 of it went into just the saya work and the fittings, instead of where it was supposed to go, which is in the sword. But this other sword over here, the plain Jane, no frills, no bob sword, I can tell. Okay, so this sword has all iron fittings. It has relatively high, it has just regular Hanwei class cast fittings. The saya is a simple matte black. The saya is a simple speckled black, or it's even plastic coated. And then I pop out the blade and it just feels right in my hand. Whereas, like, it feels like a sword. And I can tell maybe around $150 to maximum $200 went into just the casting and the went into the making of the saya, the suka, and the fittings. The other $600 went into the blade, which is what I'm looking for. I want my money to go into the part of the sword that it's going into. This sword, I can probably guess around $20 went into the fittings and the saya. 20, 25. And then the other 25 went into making the blade. So yeah, don't give me fancy shit that cost me more money and probably the blade isn't as of high quality, when I can get cheaper shit where the blade is higher quality and all I gotta do is switch out the fittings. That's the beauty of the katana. You can switch out the fittings to fit your likes and dislikes. European swords, you really can't do that unless they're a nut construction. Or you shorten the tang, or you cut the pommel off and you shorten the tang and everything, but live and learn. Now, I know this is longer than my other video. I tried to condense it, but I'm not very good at condensing. So, until next time, Outlaw Samurai tells all y'all, be crazy rednecks, be safe when using your weapons, and stay tuned next week, because on the 17th of June, on the 17th of September, is when I get my other sword. So stay tuned that Saturday for the videos. I'm out. Peace.